Let me see. Is it recording? There it is. Now it's recording. Okay, so let's go back to, I get back to the, I want to share. Okay, now we can go back to sharing. Spooky stories. Okay. You see it?
Yep.
Awesome. Let me move you back up in corner. You see anybody wanting to come in, let me know, okay?
I don't know if I can see
You might
that.
you might see a little flashing, somebody's in the lobby or something. If you don't worry about it.
Okay.
I should see it too. Okay. Spooky stories, scary folk tales are collected by Alvin Schwartz. Now you probably first met, okay, why isn't it moving? Alvin Schwartz, or let me backtrack. Spooky stories. We've talked about spooky stories every year. They're folk tales passed down from generation to generation that have mysterious or scary elements to them. And Alvin Schwartz, I would say, is the king of the spooky story folk tale. He spent years collecting stories and then rewriting them just for kids like us. And I love this picture. This is by oh, my thing came up and I can't see the name. It says right, Franco I can't say his name, Zakarzuski. He's done some of the illustrations for Alvin Schwartz's books. And I love this because what do you see in this picture?
Man, I think it's either a zombie or a vampire.
And he's reading a book. It could be a dead guy because it kind of looks like he's got his flowers and his suit on, but he's got a flashlight and a book. And can you tell where the coffin is? Oh, are you there? You've frozen.
Yeah.
He's
underground.
Yeah, you see the bones buried around him of animals.
Yeah.
So I bet you read, oh no, what happened to it? There it is. I bet you read In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories in first or second grade. Did you?
I did it in I read that book in first grade.
Yeah, when I was a second grade teacher, I have a whole class set of these books, and I used to do it with my students every year, and it's such a great book.
I don't think it was.
What?
I don't think it was first grade. I think it was third grade.
Well, you could have read it in third grade. Usually it's around first or usually second grade. It's right on second grade level. Sometimes teachers read it aloud in first grade. But you see right here, it says, In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories retold by Alvin Schwartz, which means he went and found these stories and then he rewrote them in a way that you could understand and appreciate and enjoy them. Now, I'm going to share this PowerPoint, this slide share to the class afterwards. I'll put it in the announcement section. And this video right here is a read aloud of the whole book. It's pretty cool. And then down here, and this is a video read aloud with the stories. And it's really cool because there's this Australian guy reading it. So he's got the accent and he's got good voices to go along with it. And then this video over here is just the read aloud of the book. So if you just wanted to listen to the stories, or if you have your own copy and wanted to follow along, I stuck that in there too. But what we're focusing on are the stories that are a little bit more for the older students, like third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. Have you read the scary stories to tell in the dark? I have to say the versions that we have in our school do not have these covers. They're dark brown covers, brown and black covers, and they don't have these, they're not white and stuff, but these are the original books. I have these books. My first two are at school, but I have the third one with me that I'm going to read out of today. And let me tell you, these books are written right for third, fourth, and fifth grade students, but they were very controversial. They're actually over 40 years old. They've been out for a long time. But parents don't always like these books, I have to say. And I found this really great article about the books and about Alvin Schwartz. And I put the link there if you wanted to read it. But it says scary stories were the most challenged and banned books in the 1990s, according to the American Library Association. That means parents were scared of them. Now, do you read Goosebumps?
I actually read one of the books. My dad liked to read them a lot, but no.
Did your dad read them when he was a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are also spooky, scary stories, but they're made up stories. So the difference between the scary stories and the goose is, if you look on the bottom of all the books, it says collected from folklore. So these are all stories that have been around for, some of them are newer, but some of them have been around for maybe hundreds of years. They've all been painted in communities and societies, all about things that may or may not have a little bit of truth to them. Because remember, folklore, we don't know where they came from. All right. This is the title page for the book. I love these illustrations. Stephen Gamble. He's illustrated lots of children's picture books, but look at these illustrations. How would you describe this picture?
Kind of scary.
It's very spooky looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the tree. Looks like it has a what?
Face.
Yeah, and then there's all this moss dripping down, you know. Ooh, and then there's all these wispy kinds of foggy things going on. Very atmospheric. Okay, are you ready for a story? Well,
Yeah.
actually, he always likes to put like a foreword, something that you read before you read the stories. And I always recommend you read Alvin Schwartz's forewords because they always kind of set the mood and the tone. So, are you ready?
Yes.
And I don't know what that is, but it's kind of spooky looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like a tree with arms and.
Ooh, I could put my pointer on. Ooh, the red pointer is even better. You like that? Ooh, boomin'. The girl was late getting home for supper, so she took a shortcut through the cemetery. But oh, it made her nervous. When she saw another girl ahead of her, she hurried to catch up. "Do you mind if I walk with you?" she asked. "Walking through the cemetery at night scares me." "I know what you mean," the other girl said. "I used to feel that way myself when I was alive." Mic drop. What just happened there?
Uh, did it say she couldn't get home, so she took a shortcut?
So the one girl's walking through the cemetery, sees the other girl, but then all of a sudden the other girl tells her she's what?
Dead.
Yeah. These are the sort of things that scare us. The dead scare us. For one day, we will be dead like they are. The dark scares us, for we don't know what is waiting in the dark. At night, the sound of leaves rustling, or branches groaning, or someone whispering makes us uneasy. So do footsteps coming closer. So do strange figures we think we see in the shadows. A human, maybe, or a big animal, like we don't know what this is in the picture, do we? Or some horrible thing we can barely make out. People call these creatures we think we see boo men. We imagine them, they say, but now and then a boo man turns out to be real. Queer things happening scares us too. We hear a boy or a girl who's raised by an animal, a human being like us who yelps and howls and runs on all fours. The thought of it makes our flesh crawl. We hear of insects that make nests in a person's body, or a nightmare that comes true and we shudder. If such things really do happen, then they could happen to us. But remember, is this really true, or is this just imaginings for our mind?
Imaginings for a mind?
Yeah, to make us have fun scared. This is the third book of such stories I have collected. I've learned some of them from people I met. I found others, tales that had been written down in folklore archives and in libraries. As always, we always do with tales we learn, I've told them in my own way. Some stories in this book have only been told recent times, but others have been part of our folklore for as long as we know. As one person told another, the details may have changed, but the story itself has not. For what once frightened people long ago still frightens them today. I thought at first that one of the stories I found was a modern story. It's called one I call The Bus Stop. I then discovered that a similar story had been told 2,000 years earlier in ancient Rome, that the young woman involved was named Valenian and not Joanna, as she is in our story. Are the stories in this book true? The one I call The Trouble is true. I can't be sure about the others. Most may have at least a little truth. Some strange things sometimes happen, and people love to tell them about them and turn them into even better stories. Nowadays, some people say they don't believe in ghosts and queer happenings and such, yet they still fear the dead and the dark, and they still see boo men waiting in the shadows, and they still tell scary stories, just as people always have. Alvin Schwartz. When death arrives. When death arrives, it usually is the end of the story. But in these stories, it is only the beginning. The Appointment. A 16-year-old boy worked on his grandfather's horse farm. One morning, he drove a pickup truck into town on an errand. While he was walking along the main street, he saw death, and death beckoned to him. The boy drove back to the farm as fast as he could and told his grandfather what had happened. "Give me the truck," he begged. "I'll go to the city. He'll never find me there." His grandfather gave him the truck, and the boy sped away. After he left, his grandfather went into town looking for death. When he found him, he asked, "Why did you frighten my grandson that way? He is only 16. He is too young to die." "I'm sorry about that," said Death. "I did not mean to beckon to him, but I was surprised to see him here. You see, I have an appointment with him this afternoon in the city." What do you think about that story?
Creepy.
It's a little creepy, isn't it? If it
Yeah.
gets creepy, tell me to stop, okay?
Okay.
Oh, here's the one he was talking about, The Bus Stop. Remember, he said he thought this was a new story, but then he found a similar story 2,000 years ago in ancient Roman folk tales.
Ooh.
Ed Cox was driving home from work in a rainstorm. While he waited for a traffic light to change, he saw a young woman standing alone at the bus stop. She had no umbrella and was soaking wet. "Are you going towards Farmington?" he called. "Yes, I am," she said. "Would you like a ride home?" "I would," she said, and she got in. "My name is Joanna Finney. Thank you for rescuing me." "I'm Ed Cox," he said, "and you're welcome." On the way, they talked and talked. She told him about her family and her job and where she had gone to school. And he told her about himself. By the time they got to her house, the rain stopped. I'm glad it rained, Ed said. Would you like to go out tomorrow after work? I'd love to, Joanna said. She asked him to meet her at the bus stop since it was near her office. They had such a good time, they went out many times after that. And always they would meet at the bus stop and off they would go. Ed liked her more each time he saw her. But one night, when they had a date to go out, Joanna did not appear. Ed waited at the bus stop for almost an hour. Maybe something is wrong, he thought, and he drove to her house in Farmington. An older woman came to the door. I'm Ed Cox, he said. Maybe Joanna told you about me. I had a date with her tonight. We're supposed to meet at the bus stop near her office, but she didn't show up. Is she all right? The woman looked at him as if she had something strange. I'm Joanna's mother, she said slowly. Joanna isn't here now. Why don't you come in? Ed pointed to a picture on the mantel. That looks just like her, he said. It did once, her mother replied, but that picture was taken when she was your age, about 20 years ago. A few days later, she was waiting in the rain at that bus stop. A car hit her and she was killed. Does this not remind you of a story?
It does. It does.
You
It was,
remember?
yeah, it was like where it was like, I don't remember where it was. It was like on a bridge or something, or a road.
Yes. The Girl of the Underpass. And it's set in Greensboro in Jamestown area. And this is a story, like he said, he found it all the way back 2,000 years ago. But do you know this story has been told different ways all over the country and all over the world? And if you read In a Dark, Dark Room, there's another version of this story about a little boy in a graveyard and meets a guy in a graveyard who gives him a ride home. Spooky, isn't it? That this story is told over and over again. All right. You're not too scared, are you?
No.
All right. The next one, Faster and Faster. Now, what do you see in this picture?
I think that's a drum.
Does kind of look like a Native American style drum. And what about that dark kind of spooky figure behind it? And it almost looks like what hanging off the bottom of it?
What? No, like,
I don't know.
drool?
I don't know. Maybe even hair. It's just spooky weird. Sam and his cousin Bob went walking in the woods. Okay, before we continue, what are some spooky story settings that we almost always have?
Graveyard.
Yes.
Foggy, nighttime.
Nighttime, yes. Foggy.
Outside.
Yeah. So Sam in the woods. Sam and his cousin Bob went walking in the woods. The only sounds were leaves rustling now and then. Again, a bird chirping. It's so quiet here, Bob whispered. But that soon changed. After a few minutes, the two boys started whooping and hollering and chasing one another around. Sam ducked behind a tree. And when Bob came by, Sam jumped out at him. And Bob raced ahead and hid behind a bush. When he looked down, there at his feet was an old drum. Sam, see what I found, he called. It looks like a tom-tom. I bet it's 100 years old. Look at the red stains on it, said Sam. I bet it's somebody's blood. Let's get out of here. But Bob could not resist trying the drum. He sat on the ground and held it between his knees. He beat on it with one hand and then the other, slowly at first, then faster and faster, almost as if he could not stop. Suddenly, there were shouts in the woods and the sound of hoofbeats. A cloud of dust rose from behind a line of trees. Then men on horseback galloped toward them. Bob, let's go, Sam shouted. He began to run. Hurry! Bob dropped the drum and ran after him. Sam heard the twang of a bow firing an arrow, and then he heard Bob scream. When Sam turned around, he saw Bob pitch forward, dead. But there was no arrow in his body, and there was no wound. And when the police searched, there were no men on horseback. There was no hoof prints, and there was no drum. The only sounds were leaves rustling, and now and again, a bird chirping. Whoa. What did you think of that one?
So the birds chirping was Bob, and then the leaves rustling was the person before, a long time ago.
You think this has happened before? Oh, somebody finds the drum, they beat it, and then the
nature takes them.
Scary, spooky, weird, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do one more?
Yes.
This one is called Just Delicious. Oh my, look at the picture. What is that?
Coffin.
And look, what does it have hanging all over it?
Moss or grass.
Yeah, I tell you, you've got to love Stephen Gammell's illustrations. They're like, they show us things, but they let our imaginations run wild. Just delicious. George Flint loved to eat. Each day at noon, he closed his camera shop for 2 hours and went home for a big lunch his wife Mina cooked for him. George was a bully, and Mina was a timid woman who did everything he asked because she was afraid of him. On his way home for lunch one day, George stopped at the butcher shop and bought a pound of liver. He loved liver. He would have Mina cook it for dinner that night. Despite all his complaints about her, she was a very good cook. While George ate his lunch, Mina told him that a rich old woman in town had died. Her body was in the church next door. It was an open coffin. Anyone who wanted to see her could. And as usual, George was not interested in what Mina had to say. I've got to go back to work, he told her. After he left, Mina began to cook the liver. She added vegetables and spices and simmered it all afternoon, just the way George liked it. And she thought it was done. She cut off a small piece and tasted it. It was delicious. The best she'd ever made. She ate a second piece, then a third. It was so good, she could not stop eating it. It was only when the liver was all gone that she thought of George. He would be coming home soon. What would he do when he found out she had eaten all the liver? Oh my! Can you predict what he might do?
So, but first, liver.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Oh, you froze. You think it's what? Whose liver? The old lady's? Well, let's find out. Some man would laugh, but not George. He would be angry and mean, and she did not want to face that again. But where could she get another piece of liver that late in the day? And then she remembered the old woman lying in the church next door, waiting to be buried. George had never had a better dinner. Have some liver, Mina. It's just delicious. I'm not hungry. You finish it. That night, after George had fallen asleep, Mina sat in bed trying to read. but all she could think about is what she had done. And then she heard a woman's voice. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Was it her imagination? Was she dreaming? Now the voice was closer. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Mina wanted to run. No, no, she whispered. I don't have it. I don't have your liver. Now the voice was right next to her. Who has my liver? Who has it? Mina froze with terror. She pointed to George. He does, she said. He has it. Suddenly, the light went out and George screamed and screamed. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed these stories, scary stories, more tales to chill your bones. Selected from folklore and retold by Alvin Schwartz, drawings by Stephen Gamble. Now, I'm going to take a few minutes and show you where you can find some spooky stories, okay? So,
Okay.
hold on. I've got to move I got way too many things open. Oh no, I've got you blocking my tab. Okay, let me open my new tab. Have you been to NCWiseowl lately?
No.
Remember, it's ncwiseowl.org, and you would click the elementary zone. This is a great place to look up anything. The resources are accurate and reliable. Here's Britannica, our favorite place to look stuff up, but Explorer and Infobits are just as good. But down here in the K8 ebooks. Now, when you get this screen and it says sign in with Google, don't do that. Just enter the Wiseowl 19 password and sign in. And now you have access to over 12,000 ebooks. Over 3,000 or 4,000 of them are spooky, well, not spooky stories, are fiction books, and the rest are nonfiction. So, and they're all good books, all related to things you're learning, all things that you would like. So we're going to look for scary stories. Oh, look at that, scary stories. So when you search, you type that in and click search. Oh, look, it gives us 25 different books. The Donkey Lady Fights La Llorona and Other Scary Stories. These are scary stories that feature supernatural characters from Latin American folk tales. So farther south of us. Campfire Capers are as a fiction book that has spooky stories in it. Real life sea monsters that have stories that are kind of spooky. So lots of different ones, but let's take a moment and see how do we get there. Bush and Beyond, stories from the country, Jungle Jitters. Oh my goodness, I didn't know Diary of a Wimpy Kid is in NCWiseowl. How awesome is that? My Zombie Hamster. Wait a minute, look at all these books that are in here. And this is just typing in scary stories. Spine-tingling urban legends. Now that's a book of scary stories. Elmer and the Mom. The Wolf and Me. So some of these are really young, but some of these are older. So Mary Molds a Monster. Stories old and new for reading aloud. Okay, so let me go back. Oh, the Brementown Ghost. That's a classic spooky story. Let me go to see what's on page 3. La Noche de Terror. The Night of Terror in Spanish. Scary story in Spanish. Bed, Bats, and Beyond. What are these? I Need My Monster. So I'm going to go back to page 1. And I'm going to show you how to get into the Donkey Lady Fights La Llorona. So when you click on it over here on the side, it says PDF full text. And when you click on that, it's going to load the book. And then to get it so you can see it, down here, those little 4 arrows, do you see those? I'm going to click on those. It's going to make it full screen. Sorry, the internet's a little slow today, so give it a second. And we can make it fit to page. The donkey lady fights La Llorona. Ooh, look at the pictures on here. You know, I already see, like, this is, I bet, the chupacabra. You ever heard of the chupacabra?
Yeah.
It's the Latin American, devil. So those are some other books. So you just use the arrow keys and you can scroll through them and you can read. And so here are all the different books. The blood-sucking beast. The gift that is a curse. All right. So, and then when you're done, you just click the 4 arrows to get out of it. All right. So that shows you how to find some books. And there also may be some books in Destiny. You go to Destiny. And I got to move you because you're on my login button. I like moving you around the screen here. Here we go.
I can't see you move me.
What?
I can't see you move me.
You can't see me move you, but I'm moving you. I'm going to log in as a student, Aiden Harrison. If you go to catalog in Destiny and you search Gary, you could put stories, but I'm just going to put scary. Now down here where it says material type, put electronic book, and it should find all the ebooks that you can read online. The Boy Who Was It and Other Scary Tales. The Doll That Waved Goodbye and Other Scary Tales. Looks like there's a series of books by Michael Dahl. Oh, there's some Goosebumps online. I'm Slappy's Evil Twin. The Monster in the Mailbox. So a lot of Michael Dahl has a whole series of scary tale books that you can read. So that looks pretty awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Zombie Cupcakes and Other Scary Tales. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. It was great to see you, Ryan. Do you want to share anything? Or ask any questions?
Hold on.
What?
Hold on. Who's
Hola.
when you signed into you?
Did somebody just pop in?
Hi.
Yeah.
Who's that?
It's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel. Hey, Rachel, we just finished, but I'm going to post the video.
I
read
heard some of it.
You did?
I was going to be quiet, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to post the video if that's okay. I might cut this. I don't know if I can edit it, but I'll just post it if that's okay with you. Oh,
I was trying to get on at 11, but I lost track of time.
Oh, I understand. Did you enjoy the stories?
Well, I heard the part where you were like searching up the ebooks and everything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. So I read a bunch of stories in Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. I'm going to post the video, and I'm also going to post the slideshow to show you some of the stories we read, and you can watch the video. And I've read the stories, some of the stories aloud. Okay?
Okay.
Did you want to share anything else, Rachel, before we end? We went kind of long, but that's okay.
No, I was just going to say hi because I figured I didn't want to stay quiet the whole time.
Well, and thank you for saying hi. Ryan, thank you for coming and enjoying it with us. And we'll be doing it again next Friday. And I may continue throughout the summer. I don't know. I'll have to see what my schedule is, probably, because I don't know that I'm going anywhere this summer. If you want to check back in and share some things you're reading later on. Okay, guys?
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.